Yeah.
I'm ready. Well, you're not here, Paige. We can't see you. Have you got the invisibility? Oh, okay. Oh my God. Okay.
Look what I made myself.
You made that?
I did.
Is that a thorny crown?
It's really sharp.
You got a little idea.
I made it. I did get a little idea, and I was gonna wear that garland,
Oh my God.
Oh.
but then I remembered that the outside exists.
Outside does exist,
And
yeah.
Yeah, so I just took this from the actual outdoors.
Whoa, we have an outdoors too, but all I have is bougainvillea, which has a lot.
This is
of prickers.
bougainvillea.
Oh God, that's a
It's
lot.
very
of prickers.
sharp. Yeah, can you see it? It's very sharp.
Well, for the
Oh my
listeners
God.
who can't see it, Paige has made herself a little crown out of the outside.
A big crown.
Well, it's a lot. Yeah, it's very.
It's
lots of leaves.
a festive Highlands sort of
A
Yeah.
thorny crown.
a
She
thorny
looks very-
crown. Well, that's more biblical, isn't it?
She looks
Yeah, well, oh yes.
pagan.
And I put lights on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what my bougainvillea doesn't have. Do the lights turn on?
they're on.
They are on.
Oh,
Yeah.
Here, I'll turn down my ring lights so it's more
my
romantic.
God, that's so good. Sell them,
Very
Paige.
festive.
You'll sell a million of them. Go on
They
Shark
will.
Tank.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make it through
I don't
transit.
think it's worth it.
No,
Oh, I forgot my script.
your
I have
script.
to take off the crown. Yeah, I forgot
don't
my
tell,
notes
don't tell
in
them
the
it's
other room.
scripted.
No, it's my notes, not my script, my notes. Oh, they're so
Besides.
far. Oh, play the theme song. I'll be right back.
Okay. So before we
So sharp.
before we get started with this movie, I'd like to remind everyone of a quote. Oscar Wilde once said, "A gentleman is someone who can play the bagpipes but won't." That, just apropos of nothing, I don't know, that came to mind watching this movie.
Hamish is not one of those gentlemen.
No.
No, in
He is
fact,
not.
my alt title for this is Pipin' Hot Hagrid.
Well,
Oof.
someone's getting a little ahead of themselves, aren't they?
Nah, it just felt like the right time.
It was,
Yes.
you're right. All right, so the movie we're doing today is A Merry Scottish Christmas. Boy, is it. The about
It
here.
is. It's incredibly Scottish. It is the most Scottish Christmas I've ever seen in my entire life.
Truth.
This is the shortest.
And I've seen Spencer.
This is the shortest about I've ever seen for one of these. When estranged siblings Lindsay and Brad Morgan travel to Scotland at Christmas to reunite with their mother Jo, a big family secret is revealed. Starring Lacey Chabert and Scott Wolf.
Yeah, they thought Lacey Chabert and Scott Wolf was going to be enough. It didn't matter what else happened.
It didn't matter that nothing else happened, you mean?
That's
Well,
another
and
way
it
of
started
saying
Scotland.
It did star Scotland. Yeah.
Yes.
It also started that, yeah.
Well, so what would you rename it then, Paige?
A Thomas Holly Crown Affair. Does anyone else know why?
No. Who is that?
Thomas Crown Affair was very good. Steve McQueen or Pierce Brosnan.
I've seen the Pierce Brosnan one with the Nina Simone Sinnerman. But no, okay, but does anyone know the character Thomas in this film?
Oh, God, yes, I love him.
Oh my God. Well, most of my notes are about Thomas.
Oh.
I have a long recorded. I have a lot to say about Thomas. We'll get there. But oh my God, I have a lot to say about Thomas. Thomas was a scene stealer.
Yeah, I
don't know
hope he's got another movie coming out this year.
Oh my
Was
God.
he just the other?
He was the
guy?
brother.
Yeah, he said.
He was the brother-in-law.
He's got- Yeah. He's got one scene and he steals the movie, the entire
Yeah, he
film.
does. I was very confused by that because it was.
Well,
you know-
he's been in a couple of movies with Lacey Chabert. He's been
When he shows-
a hero
shows-
to her heroines.
It's extremely confusing.
When
So
he
that's
shows
why
up,
she said,
she's-
have we met before?
That's why.
Okay, well, you're stealing.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Yeah, all right. We'll get there.
I
Fittingly,
can't wait to be inseparable for this entire episode, by the way, because as someone who just returned from Ireland
Lord.
not too long
Well, this
ago.
is Scotland, so it's not the
I
same
know.
place.
Part of why I'm going to be inseparable is because Ireland and Scotland are not the same thing.
Yeah.
and I'm going to be doing that the entire
There's
time.
a strong relationship between the two for many colonial terrible reasons. So there is a reason for that.
Yeah.
But this is it's fitting that this is the shortest about section I've ever read, because these are also the shortest notes I've ever written. It all fits on one page.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, the estranged siblings land. I never got very much clarity on why they actually were estranged in the first place.
Nobody knows.
They just were.
I feel like it's just a lot of reasons, but I feel like the movie went so far out of its way in the beginning to be like, these people are siblings. They are not going to end up together. Every single sentence in the beginning of this movie was just like, well, mom said, dad said.
Yeah.
They're just like every line that goes back and forth for the first 4 to 5 interactions is just someone establishing that these people are related.
I did really like that this wasn't much of a romance. I could have done without it having any romance at all.
It wasn't a romance because the stable boy who is part of this film is not entirely well-seeming, perhaps. I don't know. He didn't strike me as a leading man, I would say.
God.
Well, he wasn't leading.
Can we just launch right in to pretending they were kids together? Because this was just infuriating to me. They really did Scott Wolf dirty. I appreciate that he doesn't seem to have had a lot of work done. He, seems to have natural expression. He looks his age, which is not her age.
He's 14 years older than her.
And he looks great. I know he is. And here's the thing. I've got stuff to say. He's got, all right, and his makeup, that was ridiculous. Why did he have to have bruise bronzer on the whole time, even in bed? But then on Party of Five, they pretended he was born in 1968. So he's not.
Did you watch Party of Five?
Yes. He's not.
You did?
Wait, did?
I didn't.
No, I did something without you, Paige.
That's crazy. I don't believe that.
It was before you were born or
Okay, well, that's fair then.
Anyway, his character in Party of Five, Bailey, was supposedly born in 1978. Now, I didn't know that. I did have to look it up. And she was supposedly born in 1982. He was actually born in 1968, which puts him very much my age.
Lacey Chabert, did you say she was supposedly born in 1982? Because it's not, this particular thing is fact, I think.
3. She was born in 1982, and she was supposedly born in 1983. So they were much closer with her.
But Hallmark is playing fast and loose with the ages, because then they got the girl in Heidelberg Holiday, which they're pretending is born in 2000, but was not.
No, so
they've got the grooms, the groom from the stable in this who's born in 1981. I mean, they've just got everybody all over the place who all looks exactly the same age. Anyway, go on.
No, they
he was born
don't,
in
because
1983.
Scott Wolf.
No, Scott Wolf doesn't. But I'm saying
and then I'm not even done. And then they make the point that their mother, because the big clue is the newspaper article that the Duke and Duchess had a baby in 1963. So she was 5 when Scott Wolf was actually born. It is such horseshit. And if they said one time when we were kids together, we were just a couple of teenagers wondering what was going to happen. We were just like, it was so okay. You know what it was? It was
Hey
Steve
there, fellow
Buscemi.
kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, fellow kids. It was ridiculous, and there was no need for it. They could have gone with the thing. In fact, in Party of Five, that was about the same age difference that her character, Claudia, had with Charlie, the Matt Lost guy, who I love. So it would have been 1,000%.
Dominic
No.
Monaghan.
Jack.
Wait, Charlie. Jack. Oh,
He was
Matthew
Charlie.
Fox?
He was Charlie. Yes, Matthew Fox. He was Charlie.
Matthew Fox was Jack.
He was
Charlie
Charlie on
from-
Party of Five.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes, Matthew Fox. Yeah.
There will be Party of Five knowers listening to this, hopefully.
I didn't know Matthew Fox was on Party of Five.
But yeah, he was the oldest brother. But the thing is that, so it would have been, I mean, even without Party of Five, it would have been completely plausible for him to be her much older brother. Enough, enough.
Enough.
There was nothing valuable about saying, yeah, well, remember how we used to just get so excited about Christmas And
When we were tots together.
I mean, I come to, some of the quotes come up later, and it's like, okay, so what? They were excitedly taking pictures and matching pajamas when she was 10 and he was 24. I mean, it's like, oh, this ruined the movie for me. And this made me think about the way he looked in a way that I didn't want to think about how he looked. Because he is a, 56, 55-year-old man. So don't try and tell me he's 40. Or that she's somehow 53. Okay. I think I'm okay now.
Because you could sell me that she's 33 easily.
Absolutely.
But you can't sell me that he's younger than he is.
He could literally have played her father. And, and let's just stop with this bullshit saying it's like, let's stop saying women are too old for roles, but we can say men are teenagers forever. That's bullshit.
Yeah. So the father, brother, and sister, daughter land at the airport, and the sister's about to get her own car back just to avoid being near them. Because they've had a long yeah. Because
so Lacey Chabert and her brother, the Scott Wolf is traveling with his wife, who is not Minnie Driver, and which she kept reminding me of. But she's got long curly black hair.
37 years old, if anybody's wondering. Go on.
And Lacey Chabert, she's traveling by herself, and then they're gonna go. She's gonna go by herself. And then they then they decide to all go together. And they
don't
literally
forget how they ordered insultingly McMistletoe lattes and shit at the airport. Carry on. I hated this movie. The more I think about it.
Oh my God, really? That's so funny. And then I made a festive crown about it.
Yeah.
And then they literally.
But it hurts, doesn't it?
It does. It's sharp. And then they get to the castle, and they literally had the line of I thought we were going to a house. This is a castle line.
Yeah. Where have I seen that?
Yeah. And it was pretty bad.
So the mother's plan is to make them friends again, apparently. Although that plot, like most of the plots in this movie, dies within the first act at some point and doesn't really.
She's going to do that by lying unnecessarily for quite a while.
Her plan was to put them next to each other, put their bedrooms next to each other. We hear the butler be like, "As you requested," and so that's that.
Oh, I didn't
That'll
catch
do it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. They get to the castle. They've never been to a castle.
Yeah.
before.
So basically, the mom is Scottish and was from there originally, but they've never been to her Scottish. They've never been to Scotland to explore her Scottish heritage. Yeah. But they were raised in California. And so now this is the first time that they're spending time there. And there you go.
And there's a tour.
And so they're finally, and then there's a tour going on there. And they're just like, wow, so is the whole thing a hotel? And she's just like, you could say that. And so,
no, you can't.
It's very suspicious.
No, you can't. It's not a hotel at all.
Well, she says she's from around there. This is.
I was raised in the area.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't going to come up. And she already wanted to talk to them that night. If my mother said, I need to talk to you about something, I wouldn't be like,
what do you want to what's going on?
I am so tired. Can we do it tomorrow?
Yeah. If you say you want to talk to me, then I'm like, what is it? Now, tell me now.
Yeah,
tell
what's
me now.
wrong?
Now.
Tell me what's wrong. Who died?
Who's dead? Who's dead? Who's dead?
But this
Who's
is
dead?
the same.
Are you dying? Am I dying?
Yeah.
This is the same. This is the same issue, though. I mean, this, of course, these things come up a lot, but that we constantly run into in these movies where they can clarify something but they won't. And she was planning on telling them then, and then in the morning, but then right before breakfast. Well, we're not actually there yet. We're almost there yet because, again, this movie has nothing going on in it. But the one thing I do want to point out here is, importantly,
it's a chatty film.
They said that this is where Santa comes to drink whiskey instead of deliver presents. So this is where he hangs out. This is his R&R spot, which I appreciate. I like that. I would drink with Santa there at a castle.
Well, we wouldn't.
So, You
Why
don't know
not?
him. You don't know Santa.
I do know Santa.
Well, okay, you've been telling me that for years, and I stopped believing it 3-4 years ago. So that's.
Did you not see his footprints in our house?
I did, and
That was a good detail.
I still
Parent
have
tip,
his.
all you have to do is get some boots and get them wet and then stomp them into baking soda, and then you can get snowy boot prints by your stockings.
I also still have his pocket watch that he left behind that I was to return to him. Yep, it's in my music box collection. I have a music box collection. Add that to the list of mysterious things about me.
Little quirks.
So, anyway, Mom wants them to talk because she wants to tell them about all the stuff. But then before breakfast, they find a newspaper clipping by going upstairs to the private area of the castle, and it turns out that Mom was a duchess, and then she comes in. And
they're going running around, and they're like, and then they get caught by a maid, and then they're like, and then they keep running around, and then they're like,
what is the maid doing in that room that they?
Yeah, and then they're it was the maid's quarters, and then they keep running around, and then they're like, well, stop, we're gonna get caught for real, which is like totally diminishes the maid.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, she doesn't count. So, of course, we don't want a real person to find us. And then they go up and they find themselves, in Mom's room. And then they find the clipping, which is funny because they didn't put it together fast enough for the wait, Mom, this is fucking weird. What are we doing in this castle? It seems like something's up. If they didn't put it together then they put it together slow. But then finding the clipping, they put it together really fast.
Yeah, they figured
that she's a duchess. They're just like, wait, a duchess born on Mom's birthday. Mom, are you a duchess? Like,
did they not know though that they had an Uncle Danny? Did they not know that she was supposedly from Scotland, even though that was an English accent at best?
They did not know about the uncle.
Well, until she started speaking Scottish. But then they sit down and they have tea for at least 3 days because then they're sitting there. That scene had at least 3 commercial breaks in it, and they're sitting there and explaining forever. And I was kind of surprised. Like, she was just like, so wait, didn't you tell any of your family about us? And she's like, no. And then they're like, really? And she's just like, yeah. And then they're just like, wow, okay. And then you didn't tell any of us about them. And she's like, no. They're just like, wow, you really fucking just didn't. And then
she tells
they
the
had
story
a
by
historic,
a flashback. Yeah.
And then they had a historical flashback. And I wanted to spend time there. I don't know about you, Beth, but I was getting Kathleen Woody Weiss and Outlander vibes from it. And I was like, I want to spend time in that world of the 1960s. I want to spend time in the world of the Duchess heir of the Scottish throne who gives up her life to go to California with her musician boyfriend who might be Charles Manson, who knows?
You're right.
And then
we don't hear much about the father except for that he's dead.
He's a folk musician who's dead. So checking all the boxes.
They divorced for some reason.
Not sure why. Were they married or was
yes, they were.
Did he just father the children? Okay.
He was we assume.
Yeah, no, they come from folk music.
If that's a mystery, it's never solved.
She also became a singer, which is the only way she ever felt. I just loved that, this austere old Scottish woman is a folk singer.
English.
Yeah, but I mean, that
mighty wind.
The idea that that's what was actually going on is funny. So then, they're walking the grounds and talking about how, wow, it's crazy Mom lied to us, and then the plot's over.
Yep.
Because it's basically, well, we're here because the castle is mine now, and
that's the thing. They spend forever on that scene. They spend forever on that scene with that whole thing, and you do feel like the entire thing is going to be a little bit about the exploration of the flashbacks or whatever. And it's just
no, it's
and I was like, oh my gosh, I could do with so much of an exploration of the 60s, the summer of love, but it's also Scotland, Duchess, blah, 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 blah. And it's just and then it's over. That part's over in 8 seconds. She goes, and there you have it. And it's just why? Why is that how I have it? I don't want that. And then, it is kind of crazy that they just didn't tell anybody.
Because she was 9 in 1969.
Right.
That's right.
But I guess it was supposed to be the early 80s.
70s.
But it looked like the summer. I guess.
Yeah,
but they did make it look like the 1960s.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the
They
long,
acted like it
straight
was-
hair and everything. It was
Yeah.
very, very.
And giving it up for folk music. Yeah, I guess she really should have been giving it up to go like be like a Duran Duran.
Yeah,
it should just
I'm
be a
taking
dancer.
my Casio and I'm going.
And I'm going to Detroit
Oh,
to go.
Well, so yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
Do you guys want a castle? The whole plot of this movie is, do you guys want a castle? And everyone going, sure, no.
Oh, I
maybe?
know. And so okay, but so
Yes.
okay, but
by
so
the
then
way,
so then they so
Yeah.
she's just like, yeah, well, I don't think that that's a
what the hell?
She's just like, I don't think
That's
that anybody
fine.
wants me to be here, so I think that I'm gonna have to give the castle. So if you want it, then it's yours. And then she's giving them the castle, and they're just like, I don't know, I'm sort of a brat, so you don't know, maybe not. And then they just leave, and then they're walking in the grounds, and then so this is when you get a little bit more insight to the brother and sister conflict. So so then he's like, so we find out that he's mad at her because she only stayed for half of his wedding. And
Yeah.
she's like, you scheduled your wedding the weekend of my med school exams. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense why she had to leave. It was her med school exams. Like, she had to
Yeah.
leave. He missed her graduation because it was tax weekend.
Yeah, he did say
right.
that.
I get that he works in that industry, but it's tax weekend, bro. Come on. And he didn't go to, and then she didn't go to his Christmas parties, and he's giving her shit. He didn't invite her. And by his own admission, that's true. So he's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God. But then they said it, apparently, they were sitting and having that conversation for so long. And then they go to the woodworking room to go explore Danny's like woodworking area. And the Santa suit is just sitting there hanging ever since he's been dead. It's just crazy. And
But she meets
and then they
the
go
romantic lead, quote unquote, when she's planning on
Oh my
leaving.
God.
He's
so
by the horse.
so then they go meet the stable boy. And that's when we meet like Lacey Chabert's romantic interest. But he is such milktoast. I
My
mean,
note
he
is this going to be Lacey's love interest? Because no, he looks like he's her uncle. Which is
he's
going
just-
around.
Yeah, he just looks like a pile of, like just a pile of, I can't believe it's not butter. He's just not
He's almost exactly the
real.
same age as her, by the way.
No, I know.
didn't
But he
check.
had he had the I actually looked that up. But his,
I know you
he
got
just-
everybody's ages on a Rolodex right there.
He just seemed to. I did. Because I was wondering why he looked so much older. And to be fair, in later scenes, he didn't strike me as looking so much older. But he just doesn't. And he's a nice looking man. Like, this is nothing against the actor. It's just really how maybe it was the way, I don't know. There was nothing dashing about him. And this was before Thomas even showed up.
Don't even make me think about Thomas, or I can't think about the stable boy.
By the way, can I
But-
just mention something that we glossed over, which was the fucking family portrait, courtesy of Microsoft Digital Image 1994.
I didn't
Yeah.
see it till the end, so yeah,
And
that's
I
the only
showed
time
it
I
twice.
saw it.
Oh my!
So I only saw it the once, and I took a picture of it at the end.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Oh, I remember how we thought we could take a photo
Watercolor.
and make it seriously pixelated with the watercolor effect and pretend it was a painting. It didn't work then, and it doesn't work now. Why? Why
bad.
are they so bad at this? Why is Hallmark so bad at this? They could have paid you. I don't know what you charge, Paige, when you do the portraits, but I mean, like, they're
More than
much
Hallmark would
better, and it would have been well worth it.
Yeah. I mean, but it was rough. So then they go into town, and then that is when I was like, oh my God, is there going to be a middle-aged lesbian love story? Because the Duchess runs into
Elspeth.
Elspeth,
Yeah, her childhood
and
best
it was
friend.
so loaded. There was like the eye contact, the world slowed down.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, it's you. It was like there was so much more romance in that scene than there was anywhere else in the movie.
I actually had that thought too, and I watched it twice.
It was crazy.
And then
It was
speaking of
definitely- I mean-
speaking of romance, the next thing is that the fucking stable boy falls off a horse and hurts his arm a little bit, and that's how we keep him involved in Lacey Chabert's life, because otherwise
I
we
know.
wouldn't see him again, I guess.
But before that,
Ripped his arm a little
but before that, when she sees Elspeth and they're like in that store, like they're chatting and stuff, and then like
Yeah.
Oh my God. But that was also when I was realizing that there's a whole other movie in this movie of the sister-in-law, like Scott Wolf's wife, who's just on this trip, totally being dragged along to like spend time with the mom, who's just like, got to be calling her best friend. Like, there's definitely a from her perspective version of this movie who's just like, my fucking husband is going to inherit a castle and he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, she's definitely, there's a perspective in there from her, like, from her
It's
world. And
Darren
she's just
Stevens,
like,
Major Nelson syndrome all over again.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I didn't earn it.
Well, it turns out they're
yeah.
trying to have a baby. That's, I think, around when we find that out that they're.
Well, that's harder when men are older.
They're trying to have a baby.
when they're in their late 50s.
It is. You have to.
They're trying to have a baby and it's not working, and that's causing some strife. And it seems like their marriage is actually kind of just like right on the edge of falling apart entirely. Although
Which
he's about
makes
to inherit
him
a castle,
the
so
common
Because
that's
they
denominator to bad
individually seem that
relationships.
way.
Yes.
Well, with each
That's
of these
true.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when the guy falls and hurts himself a little bit, the butler comes and slams on the fucking door with the force of 1,000 tsunamis and
my God.
wakes her up and is like, I need you. He
Yeah,
fell.
he wakes up Lacey Chabert. And at first I couldn't remember why, and then it remembered that
Yeah.
Lacey Chabert is a doctor.
Me too.
And I was like, why does he need her? But I didn't even stumble over it that long because I was just like, Hallmark. And then I remembered she's a doctor and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a real
doctor
reason.
and Hallmark.
So
So she's a professional Barbie.
So she
But
takes him to the doctor's office where his mom is the doctor. Mac's mom is the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really didn't
and
need
then
to
he's
wake her up,
fine.
which they
Did we?
conceal.
Really didn't need
which
to.
they conceal for a really long time.
Yeah,
He's
is a
like,
reveal.
she's like, well, we're going to have to take you to the doctor. And he's like, oh, well, okay. And then they go into the doctor and then they're just like, and then he's looking at it and she's like, he's a rough one, this one. And then she's like, yeah, well, you seem to know him. She's like, ever since June 5th, 1981. And then she's just like, wow, you know him really well. And she's like, I do. And then she's like, well, it's my kid. It's my child. I birthed him. Like, just say it. Why the secrets?
Yeah. So, so then there's a they
Then
get
they
invited.
leave.
It's fine. He's fine. He's really totally fine.
He's
And
fine, this big baby.
He was
like,
always
why
gonna be
isn't he
fine.
why did he need assistance? Why did he need to be led around? Like, it's
not like his legs were broken.
Can I have a lollipop when I get there? My arm is hurt. My wrist is hurt. Like,
Not
It
so
was
hurt
an
that he can't
emergency,
knock
but
back
there
whiskeys.
was no blood, there was no bandage.
no blood, no bandage. He's got a sprained wrist. He's fine. I understand if he
Yeah.
needed a ride, whatever. But this guy is like, he's a fucking horse groomer. Like, he should know the difference. Whatever. So yeah,
So
then
they
they
go
get
to
a
a whiskey
call.
contest. Yes, they get
Yeah,
the
so they
call.
get a call. They get the call because Elspeth, the real romantic lead in this, because the Duchess has a past. She gets a call and she's just like, I don't know why. First of all, like when it cuts to like the Duchess making this call, she's like standing with the most active stance. She's like standing in the middle of a hallway, clutching her scarf, like with her legs akimbo, and she's just like, Elspeth called and she wants to know if we want to be a judge in the whiskey competition. And she's just like, she looks like she's about to like waiting for a starter pistol when she calls her to ask her that. She's not just like sitting in a chair somewhere asking. It's not casual. And then she's like, oh, I don't know. Lacey Chabert's like, I don't know anything about whiskey. I don't know, which pisses me off because I'm just like, if I was one of the whiskeys in the competition or one of the distillers in the whiskey competition, yeah, no, I wouldn't just want some rich people being like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah,
Just
why
like if you
not?
were one of the average people and they only address this once and then they forget about it entirely. If you're one of the average people living there and you didn't want your historic castle to be inherited by Californians that know nothing about Scotland, which
movie
does come up
is-
briefly, but then they forget about it.
Well, this whole whiskey thing is kind of weird because then they get to the whiskey competition and then there's a really slow motion scene with a minor key traditional like trad music score of Comfort and Joy. And it's like over everybody while they're like swirling the
God
whiskey.
Rest You Merry Gentlemen.
And
It's awesome. I love it.
no, it's Comfort and Joy.
It's God Rest
it's
You Merry
Comfort and
Gentlemen.
Joy.
That is the
No,
that's
it's-
what
God rest ye merry gentlemen. Good tidings.
No, I
of
slowed it down
comfort
and I
joy.
stopped and I recorded it.
It's the same song.
So we
though,
can
Paige.
check.
What song do you think is Comfort
Is it
and
the
Joy?
same?
it's the same song.
Joy, oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Is that the same? Is that the same song?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And,
Well, it's
and
that song.
as I recall, it's your favorite Christmas song.
It
Yeah.
is. But I'm on Topamax. Don't forget.
Oh,
I've
right.
been stupid for weeks.
Dopamax,
So-
my doctor called it.
Yes. So that's exactly the kind of thing that I've been
loved
dumb
it.
about lately.
I loved that
anyway,
version. It's great.
So yeah. So, but it slowed it down, and it's like this bizarre scene that I was like, it's so weird. It felt like, you know, the Irish dancing scene in Titanic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they're in that scene in Titanic, what everybody else is doing that we don't see in that scene in Titanic is that all the men are in the cigar room smoking. And it felt like that scene that we didn't see in Titanic, because it just felt like that, where it's just like all the rich people doing the thing, like the fancy thing. It just felt like the unseen footage of that. It was very bizarre to me. It also felt like Triangle of Sadness. Like, I don't know. It just felt like an Eat the Rich scene. And it just felt like something bad is about to happen to everybody.
I just take it where I can get it,
Yeah.
you know, with these movies, because like that, all I registered when I watched that was that I just loved the music and I liked the
me
idea
too.
of drinking whiskey and being in Scotland. Those are the only things I was able to register, because yeah, I mean, tonally, none of that makes a lick of sense, and that happens consistently in these movies. That something doesn't make any sense in the overall tone, but that I like it probably because of that.
Well, incidentally, two things. I hope you can't hear Aster snoring next to me. And the other
I
thing
can,
is
but I like it.
the bar is called Salinger's.
Or
Which-
Salingers. They pronounce it both ways.
That was the last name on Party of Five.
Oh. Lots
Well-
in world going on.
So they
Lots
just keep
of out of
wandering around.
Scotland.
They just keep wandering
so what I
around
was
trying to
gonna say-
decide whether to go ahead and have a castle, and that's pretty much this whole part of the movie is that.
Well, no, because the Salingers thing is the most important part of the movie. But what I was going to say was that so that whole part does feel like what you just said, Jack, because when I was in Ireland, it did feel a bit like that, this part. And I was not there over Christmas time, but I couldn't believe how fucking Irish Ireland felt. And it really felt it felt so much more than this movie did. It felt so much more,
Well, again,
so much
Scotland.
worse.
Yeah, it does make sense.
No, but I'm saying it felt so, no, but the thing that they're capturing in this, like the warmth of the pubs and the music and the, like, all of that, like, every movie I've ever seen makes it seem like it's so fucking Irish, so fucking Scottish, whatever. But truly being there is even more so than I ever even saw it depicted. And that was something I was not prepared for when I went, which is like for it to be even more sarcastically so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I was ready for it when I was watching this. I was like in the mood for it. And the scene in Salingers or Salingers, whichever you prefer.
With the dance, we
apparently.
haven't gotten to that yet. That's
I know, and when we do, I will not stop talking about it.
because
so.
there is this whole thing still happening again. They are just wandering around. But then the mom, she's decided to have a little tiny plot where she was just wondering if her brother got her letter to him before he died. And then it turns out he did.
Yeah, well, but she asks somebody who probably doesn't know. It
Well,
was
she asked the
just
butler.
a fucking letter, though. Also, do you know if he got the last bill for the electricity? Do you know if he got any kind of credit card offers? Yeah, I mean, it's like.
So
By the way,
then it's
I
time.
skipped my note here that okay, they entered the neighborhood hot cocoa contest. She 10, him 25. But go on.
Don't remember that at all.
They
I don't
talked
remember that
about
either.
how they entered the neighborhood hot cocoa contest together, and
I don't remember
Right,
that.
because there's a dirty Rudolph or dirty reindeer or whatever they call it, which is
Oh,
which is not
ew,
alcoholic,
yeah.
even though you'd expect it to be.
Ugh, that looked fucking foul.
Yeah. So then it's time for the dance off.
yes,
Go ahead, Paige.
Well, it's
Let
just
it
so they
rip.
walk into the party and they're like, just a few people, huh? And it's just like, but it is a pub, so it was like not that many people for a pub. They just because Buddy McFriendzone, which is Mac, he like invited them to a party he was having later, and that's what they go to at Salinger's, and and then as soon as Lacey Chabert gets there, he invites her to go step behind the bar and work a little bit.
Yep.
So she does, which would piss me right off, and has, because that has happened to me. But again, when I was in Ireland, I was invited to step behind the bar, and I did pour some Guinness for people because I made friends with one bartender, and that was super fun.
Because you
and
really,
he told
really
me,
wanted to, you poser.
I really, really did. And because we were chatting, and I didn't ask to, but then he told me to step behind the bar, and we were just friends, and we stayed for a lock-in, and we were there all night, and he told me that I was a TCB, which was a top-class bartender. Anyway.
Now you can say
so,
you tended bar in Ireland.
I did. I poured many a Guinness and dangle.
Okay, you were a beer tender.
And I was, well, yes, but actually it was only Americans ordering anything but beer there anyway.
I just tried to give you bartender.
So anyway, so then the most important scene, and the only scene that matters in this movie, happens. So
which is Lacey Chabert screaming Scotland forever.
No, not yet. Although that is what my hat is inspired by. So they go over to High Top, and then a mom comes over who says, I tell everyone to call me Amelia. That's how she introduces herself.
That's the doctor.
Which is, my response to that would be, okay, Janet.
Can you guys start calling me Amelia?
Yeah.
Can we just make that decision?
Yeah, apparently. And then he introduces his brother and his wife. First of all, they're both more charming than anyone else in this film, and I like Lacey Chabert.
Yes.
But she winks and is adorable, and then he's hot, and I love him immediately, and his name is Thomas. And then Lacey says, do I know you? And he says, no, but I get that a lot. So I'm putting a pin in that to see if that comes back. It doesn't.
No, that was just for us, because it's Will Kemp, and he's a hero in a lot of her movies.
I know, but so I didn't know that because I'm not so in world with Hallmark that I just fucking know that. So you can't just have things that are references to so that some people get it, but it's not plot referential.
Tell that to every blockbuster movie in the last 15 years. But
I agree. I agree. That was they didn't follow up, and they just were. Whatever.
I think it was.
If you don't get it, tough shit.
I think it was just a little bit. It was a little bit of a. Hallmark, I like nods like that. I always do, even if I don't get them, because they make me want to get them. But I feel like Hallmark doesn't totally have that kind of cred. It's not the MCU. It's not like you're not expecting Easter eggs or references to things.
I love an Easter egg. It's just that I didn't get it.
It felt central.
And it was just weird. And it was just so confusing. But so then the person who said that is named Thomas, and he's extremely important to me now. He is.
The way I interpreted it was that I felt like, okay, wait, is this guy somehow like Mac's like twin? And if you shave Mac, does he turn into Thomas? Like,
well, not Thomas. The bartender though looked just like Mac, but wasn't Mac.
Yes, that's true. I noticed that too.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
But so Mac, but that's the thing. So yeah, I noticed that. But so Thomas. But the problem is Thomas had such an it factor and such a star quality that when she said, do I know you? And he was such a scene stealer that it was really important when he said that. It wasn't just like some little Easter eggs aside thing where it's just like some like normal ass looking dude said that and I could just forget about it.
Right.
It was like, sorry, the most important person I've ever seen on TV just asked a question. Hello, is anyone going to answer him?
It felt
I care.
That actor has a lot of like stage cred, West End and Broadway, and he's a dancer, and as you might have been able to notice.
Well, I'm about to find out a lot about him. So
then they do the dance off, and Lacey Chabert tries to do a waltz. Okay.
So listen. So then he pulls her onto the dance floor, and they have so much fucking chemistry. And don't worry, I filmed it. It will be going on the carousel. It might be the entire carousel of our Instagram. And I mean, I just have like 3 hours of conversation for I mean, like, who the fuck is he and where did he come from? I mean, like, they're dancing, and then they cut to poor Mac, who's just like, and he just looks like such a moron. And I understand he's doing like traditional dance, but like Thomas is too, and he's pulling it off, and he looks so hot.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't know, somehow he is pulling it the fuck off. And then Mac, it just cuts to him, and he looks, I don't know, it's still like golden retriever energy. And then you've just got like full German Shepherd over there. It's really rough. And I was like, this had better not be the last scene with Thomas, especially because I didn't know the whole Easter egg thing. I was just like, Is this the real romance that's been lurking here? And Hallmark's actually about to surprise me and she's going to meet real chemistry. And like the whole problem is that we don't know about this character is that she always goes for like the nice guy, but actually she needs a little bit more intrigue in her life. And blah, blah, blah. No, nothing.
No.
Last thing, you never see him
nice.
again.
But no.
And that's why it's called the Thomas Holly Crown affair to me, because then they win the competition and that's it. Doesn't matter. Then she goes home. She doesn't even reference him again because when she gets home,
Scotland
she's like, it was
forever.
so nice meeting. Oh yeah. Well,
I think that's really
Yeah.
important because
Sorry.
I've never seen a more impotent scream of national pride.
yeah.
my
So they
whole life.
win. And then they say,
Scotland forever!
Scotland forever.
Is that a
It's
thing they
so-
say, or would they? Is that like Erin go bra, which means Ireland forever, as far as I know? Right?
Yeah, I
So
don't
I don't
know.
even know
No,
whether
I've
Scotland forever is a thing.
Probably. I mean, no, yes, it is. It is like it's a thing
English?
called pop culturally. It's a thing.
Are you sure?
Yes,
You
I'm
want to
sure
say that on? You want to say that on the air with confidence?
I am confident that Scotland Forever is something that Scottish characters in lots of media say. But are they
Okay.
usually in an American movie or something? Yes, so I don't know. But just like you brought up earlier with Ireland, I mean, it's stranger than fiction how some reality is more camp even than the American interpretations of it. So I don't know about that, but I know that Scotland Forever is something that does really exist pop
Okay.
culturally.
Okay.
Culturally, I don't know. Pop
Thomas.
culturally, yes.
I just can't stop thinking about him.
Look for A Christmas Waltz
stop
from
thinking about
like a year or two ago. That was a good movie.
Ugh.
That was
So
him
then-
and her.
Then Mac and Lacey Chabert kiss. He does then.
Oh God!
they're
Talk about
going home.
impotent.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then
It
she's
was
like,
so gross, especially after Thomas. I mean, it was just like, you got Thomas and he's just like, ugh. I mean, he's just like standing in front of her and there's just like fire between them. They're just like, before they
Yeah.
start dancing, it's just like, what is it? And then she's just like, what? And then like when they go to kiss, he's just like, is it okay if I kiss you? And she's just like, I guess. I don't know. Is it going to be wet?
Well,
and
then
it's just
she
like,
says no
that's just like
afterwards.
what
Guarantee
they
it.
have.
she actually is after they kiss. She's like,
Hold
I'm
on,
not
let me
sure.
take my retainer out.
After they kiss, she's like, I'm not sure that I should be. I'm just kind of in a weird in between state until I figure out what I'm doing. We probably shouldn't do that. And I just think she was thinking about Thomas. I think that was all that was.
I mean, aren't we all? So then the next day they go and they're like, and then she says, okay, so about last night, or she says, hey, about last night. And he goes, and this was crazy. He goes, let's just enjoy Christmas and take it from and see how this goes. And for the first time, I got the hint that he is the sort of guy who's super, super nice
Yeah.
until he's really not.
Yeah, it was the way he was
Like-
smiling in that scene. It was very off.
There was something like a little like,
just-
like,
Okay.
let's just, just like, let's just take it. Let's just be, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like when he's like,
Yeah.
he's just smiling and there's just something straight like behind there where like there's almost in that there's nothing behind the eyes, behind the smile. I don't know. I just
it's
got a
another
really
one of
bad
those Hallmark
feeling when he
heroes
smiled.
where you could really have the montage grind to a very sudden halt and the snowball fight stop, and then you could pan over and you could just be staring endlessly at the camera,
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
and then
Yeah.
it could cut away and everybody could be smiling again, and suddenly it would be like, okay, that
that?
makes sense. That
Am I the
was
only one
within
who
his
saw that?
characterization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it
But
does.
so
it does
while
feel that way.
Lacey
So-
Chabert is not learning the lesson about which man to be with, even though Thomas is married, which is a shame
Mac,
for us.
Mac is
not
doing a
the lesson,
bonfire.
Paige.
In that scene, he's doing a bonfire to frighten away spirits. That's also what's happening right then.
Oh.
Yeah, which is actually just like he's lighting a big, huge red flag in the middle of the town square.
Yeah.
And then what that like zips on forward to is that Scott Wolf is, I think there's stuff in between, but I don't think it matters. Scott is at a pub getting hyped up by a man somewhere who's like, Scotland is in your veins. You deserve to take as much of it as you can take. What are you doing? You're just gonna go back to America and let things just. You're gonna let this slip out of your stupid little impotent fingers.
There are
he's just
numbers
like-
that need me.
Yeah, he's like Yeah, man, what am I thinking? Yeah, maybe
Then he's
you're
Santa,
right.
like the uncle. He takes on the uncle's Santa mantle. And then immediately after that, he has to have what his wife calls an honest conversation while he's still wearing a fat suit.
Oh, he
And
says, that explains my quote here that I didn't explain to myself. It felt really good to be Santa.
he does say that. And that's
does.
after that. Yeah. So then he decides to stay. They decide to stay. Well, but that is with a conversation where
wait.
he says, I just,
No.
I don't know if this is working or whatever. And she says, do you mean our marriage or the castle or the baby? Like, or should we keep trying? That's what he says. And she says, do you mean the castle, the marriage, the baby? What? Because it could be any of them.
Yeah. So wait. So then this is my favorite because then, so then after he goes and gets hyped up by the bartender at the pub, then they go and they have brunch with the mom and with Lacey Chabert. And they're like, okay, we have to have the gala or whatever, and we need to decide how everyone needs to be announced. The butler is asking. The Duchess says, Joe Morgan is fine with me. Lacey Chabert says, Lindsay Morgan works for me. And then, this is my favorite, Scott and his wife give each other a loaded look, and they clutch hands and says, yeah, we stayed up all night. We barely got any rest. We're going to go ahead and take the titles. We're going to be the Duke and Duchess. We're going to stay here. And it was a really hard decision, but we're going to become the Duke and Duchess. So Duke Brad is going to be taking over Glencrave.
Yeah.
And the castle. And Lacey's pissed because she thought they were going to do this together and that they were going to make this decision together, which I don't really understand because, like, what does that mean?
He's married to someone else and...
They were just going to codependently stay in California together? Like, he can't just, like, go take care of his family in the castle that they, like, are set to inherit? So that's okay, so obviously Thomas is my favorite part. My second favorite part is what I'm about to tell you. My third favorite part is when Duke Brad decides to take over. My note was,
boy, Brad and Sarah really took to being the Duke and Duchess pretty quickly.
Exactly. But my second favorite part, which it's hard to say, because Thomas, I mean, obviously, I don't know. I think my first and second favorite part of this movie are tied. So, but this is it. So, second favorite part. Yes. But I think it would have to be the cemetery scene when we discover that Danny, who is off-referenced in this film, Danny was the Duke who left Glencrave to the Duchess. Danny was Lacey and Scott's uncle. He died. He's often talked about. He was the one who had the woodworking shop. He had the Santa suit. Danny died in December 2023, which, depending on when you're listening to this episode, hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
When this movie came out, hasn't happened yet.
Wow. More future content. That's interesting.
That is weird. Why do they do that?
Doing that.
Hasn't happened yet.
Why not August?
Why not just make it August? Exactly what I was going to say, August.
It's just...
How weird is that? Why did he need to die?
I don't know, because they obviously knew this was going to come out in or before December 2023. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? No.
I don't know.
Well, so Lindsay thinks it's a fairy tale, and thinks that fairy tales aren't real, and so she can't do this. I mean, it's like, in theory, this kind of conflict makes sense, where it's like, it's just hard to believe this is real, and that makes it hard to, like, I'm afraid of success, like that kind of thing. That makes sense. But when you spell it out that clearly, it doesn't make sense. When it's genuinely you just going, this feels fairy tale like, and fairy tales aren't real, so this must not be. I have to go live in America. When you're saying that almost verbatim, that's not good writing. So that's why she doesn't want to stay. It turns out that a big real estate developer wants to break up the estate and turn it into a dozen McDonald's or whatever.
With play places.
Yes, and then
ball pits everywhere.
They all agree that Mac can go ahead and be the caretaker because he's the other character.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, which they revisit one time. She's like, I had to bring you this, and she brings him I was gonna say a toy. She brings him a present, and it's like, yeah, you did have to bring him that, because otherwise we would have forgotten he was in this film.
Yeah. In that
wasn't
conversation,
a tiny transformer in a plastic bag.
Yeah, exactly.
From the upcoming McDonald's.
Yes.
Lot. Yeah, no, they when they have that conversation and she says it's a fairy tale and whatever, he also says you're literally being given the keys to the castle, which is what almost
Not a lie.
convinces her
Where's
then,
the lie?
but then doesn't. Then it turns out that Josephine's brother wrote her a letter back. I don't remember what the content was. And then they do the Duke and Duchess announcement, and they're announced.
Yeah, he's already wearing
then,
the sash.
He is pumped up to be Duke
so
Brad.
ready. God, he can't wait. So then she leaves, and I was like, "Is she really gonna leave? Is that really how this is gonna end up?" Because it really was only a minute left. But then she opens the box and is like, "Oh, I've been given the literal key to the castle," and so she turns around and stays. And then they do a cut forward, and we see that they had a baby successfully. The brother had a baby, and they live in a castle. That's the whole fucking thing.
So I guess a baby saved that marriage.
Yeah,
So far.
well, or at least it kept it on the goddamn line.
There will probably be a sequel, so.
I thought there would be a sequel. It felt that way. But, yeah, that marriage didn't have
Didn't have
a
the
lot
hooves.
going for it. No, it didn't have the hooves, as they say.
Oh, okay,
So-
my last my last note was Ainsley, the baby, because we're going full on.
Oh.
Brad and Sarah are
Ainsley.
going full on Irish or Scottish now. Ainsley appears to be a couple of months old. Everybody's wearing unimaginative old Navy PJs. And then my last note is all caps, Jesus, that portrait. And with a scare.
God, that was. Well, yes. Mine was. My last one was, excuse me, that family portrait? Because it was the first time I saw it.
So bad. So
God.
bad.
So bad.
You know what would improve that, though? What if you glued some glass to it?
That would help. Okay, so what did you guys think?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I really wanted to like it. I loved the
What
one
a
with like
surprise.
Brooke Shields going to the Irish castle. Like, no, I am not that hard to sell as it seems, but this is just stupid. The doubling and tripling down on them being kids together and entering hot chocolate contests and being photographed in their PJs together and I don't know, believing in Santa Claus. Like, it's just everything added up to him being like, I don't know, not okay. And just, I think that was, it was an undignified thing to do to him. Like, did he object? Because he, like I said, he looks great. I like him. Why not just,
You guys both
Why
really
does
have your
Hallmark
hills
have
for
to-
this one.
well, you just don't need to go out of your way to be unrealistic about a plot point or something that doesn't matter. He didn't need to be her age. And they didn't need, in fact, there could have been more depth to their relationship had they said, well, yeah, I actually had the advantage of, 14 years more than you had of remembering mom and dad being happy. It wasn't all a waste. Whatever, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. They really blew it. And I don't know, they didn't need a romance for her. So why, what did you call him? Buddy McFriendzone? I mean, like, why did he need to be there? Why did he need to look exactly like the bartender at Salinger's? People aren't going to understand Salinger's. So Salinger isn't a Scottish name to my knowledge. So that itself would also stand out. I don't know. This was it's
I
a
thought it
big
was
budget
cute.
Hallmark that yeah, that's what I think too.
I thought it was pretty. I thought it wasn't as pretty as I expected, maybe. I thought it could have been much warmer. I don't know. Again, I
Yeah,
just
cozier.
keep thinking a lot of these could have been so much cozier.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think I expect this a lot out of life, much more than I think I just expect this a lot more out of the planet that I live on, because I worked in hotels for a long time. I worked at the Willard in Washington, D.C., for example. I know that that's a beautiful hotel. It's super famous, and that it's quite cozy and grand. But I also know that there are a lot of, if you go in the back, it's not cozy and grand there. And I know that like down a couple of hallways, like it's not, it's a little run down in some places because it's super old, for example. And I know that like even the most grand hotels in the world aren't as grand as you expect. I know Buckingham Palace is like famously pretty run down, right?
Right.
So like,
Drafty, very low wattage bulbs and stuff. Yeah. That's what I
Yeah,
heard.
so like actually the scene where they were running around and they like, got caught by the housekeeper that didn't count. I was thinking like, oh yeah, it's not like a drafty old medieval castle from like that we actually picture really. It's not really what you're imagining when you picture a castle that I would imagine from like the time travel romances that I read or read, But that's what I want. I want that, even though maybe that isn't realistic. I know that things have been drywalled and stuff, but I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't want drywall and baseboards. I kind of want it to just be beautiful and to be hard wood. Like I always say, like I want it to be like mahogany and, I know that's
What would
expensive.
be stone floors?
Yeah, well, no, I
were
know,
gonna-
but I'm saying I want visually in these movies. I'm saying I want wood and I want. I want tapestry and I want rug and I want carpet and I want
floors weren't-
cushion and I want fabric.
In those castles, when they were built, a lot of them had more. I mean, I'm a big medieval history fan, and
You have a
there's
medieval gate, you would say?
I do have a medieval gate, somewhat of a medieval gate. And the thing is that I think a lot of people they picture castles as just being cold stone and little more than that. That's just because that's the stuff that lasts. Wood ages a lot faster, and all the stuff that made it homey for the people who lived in castles at the time, those things can be reproduced to a certain degree of accuracy that still feels old and looks old and feels charming, but is also nice and livable. That's possible to do, and some people do it. Some castle restorations look like that. But I agree that no, you don't want it to feel like you're in the sub-basement of a church surrounded by bones. You don't want to feel that way, but you
Right.
but you also don't want to feel like you're in the
Rarely.
community center of a church. And
Right.
Exactly.
not that my entire architectural reference system is based on different rooms in churches, but I feel like basically this is going for the it's basically a suburban home on the inside, which is, great for a few Californians who want to fancy themselves royalty.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So if I were fixing this, I would just be trying to I would just want the aesthetic to match what it sounds like it's going to be. And I would this is whenever we're doing how would I fix this? We're always pretending we have an unlimited budget because it's no fun to play the game
time.
with the reality. So
Right.
yeah, it's like if you're given like
Well, they had a budget for this one.
Yeah, it's not just like how do you do this with the emotional bandwidth and the like reality of the budget you have, because of course, like if you're doing this when you're making 65 other movies and whatever. But like I think that I would just want this to be in a warmer castle environment than it was in. And 100% I don't really care that much about the sibling age difference as you do. I think that for people who really loved Party of Five.
No one cares as much as Beth does.
I
about
cared
No.
enough for all of us.
that.
I know. So I think
All the viewers.
for people who cared about Party of Five, it's probably just cool to see them acting together and being like
Well,
that.
I did wonder. I wondered if anybody has any response. I wondered how Party of Five diehards were liking it. So
Fiveheads.
yeah.
I wonder
Wow.
too, and I feel like they. It's probably just fun to see people there and having like the Easter eggs and whatever. But so I feel like that's fine, just having them acting together. But yeah, they didn't need to be the same age. It literally doesn't matter for the plot. So just having them have an age difference doesn't matter. And to have them not, have an age difference and then having them have a relationship is fine. Who cares? Like they can just be friends and have, conflict if they're having conflict and get along if they're getting along. It doesn't really matter.
I think that's down to the writing process pretty universally, from what we understand, happening well before anything else for these movies. That the movies are written, the script is done before anything else a lot of the time. So that I imagine that's a lot of why they just didn't have time to bother with that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I think that beyond that, I think that I would also say the biggest thing for me was Thomas. I would have to say
Did you like
I would
Thomas?
probably
Do you like
loved
Thomas?
him. I would have to say I would make Thomas the hero, the lead, the big old lead of this film. I would say that Scott is a side character.
Oh, yeah.
That Scott and Brad and Sarah
Yeah.
are just there as sort of to be wonky little side characters.
Oh, and throw
out
in
there,
that middle-aged gay romance. That also would have been really
Oh,
good.
that would have also been fun. I would have liked to see that resolve. And that would have been, because I mean, that was clearly where that was headed. And
we know these movies aren't afraid of having like 6 fucking couples get together by the end of the film, so it's not.
Exactly. So why not? And, you know, and if they didn't want to like have everybody resolve or whatever, just have them, you know, spending time together or whatever, and everybody can have Christmas at the end, whatever. But like having the brother relationship, they can just be off having their own little thing. You can have a little bit of scenes with them, but they don't need to be a whole thing. And then have her meet Thomas. However you meet him, he can be anything. That man can be anyone. He could play anybody. Oh my God. Put him behind a bar. Send him to the stables. Make him the mayor. I don't care. He can play anything. He could play a horse and he would have my heart. I love that man.
Oh my
He's
God.
the lead. He's the hero. He's the
Yeah,
star.
you got
He's
some movies to watch.
Woo-wee!
I agree,
right.
except for about the age difference stuff, because they really, even if they had the script pre-written, I myself, as a writer, I could have gone in and said, wait, I got a couple things I got to change.
How would you fix
Less than a day.
this other than that? Because I know you'd fix that part. So other than that, how would you fix it?
They would have, me fixing this would have had a lot to do with that, because then I would have given them, that would have changed the whole dynamic of their relationship and what he knew and what she knew. And she might have, you know, jealousy that he knew their parents and she didn't, or he knew them together and she didn't. And like, okay, so now you're just gonna, you know, I've never felt part of this. So of course I don't feel part of mom's past. I don't know. I mean, I was so disappointed that this wasn't warm and delicious, that, you know, I don't have a real fix. I mean, there was so much wrong, but I do agree that they, if they wanted to have a romance for her, they should have used somebody she has a lot of chemistry with.
I would have put in a drunk scene too. That would have been funny. I would have loved to see Lacey Chabert be drunk.
Yeah, they're having the whiskey tasting with scotch with
Scotch.
Scotch.
Yeah,
That's another educational
but yeah.
scene. That whole thing.
She should have been wasted when she says "Scarlet forever."
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That would have been charming.
And give her a
instead of
headache
it
the
just
next
being
day.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You like okay, yeah.
Philadelphia Story style.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or High Society.
Yeah. Either one.
Yeah. Well, as we've said
Porque no
before,
los dos.
you know, that headache that Hallmark heroines always get after they've actually had like a single drink. The way that they always do it is just the same amount of, they appear to be in the same amount of pain you'd be in if your ponytail were too tight. And that's
it's also very 1950s. It's very much
Yeah.
the Grace Kelly hangover.
yeah, just
Somebody please turn down the sun?
but it's just
very
but it's not
bright
even that
in
much.
here.
It's just
Not a problem in Scotland.
no. No. So I mean
But I
that's that,
enjoyed watching
guess.
the movie. It was totally fine. I think that I enjoyed watching it the most out of the 3 this weekend, for God's sake.
I liked Holiday Hotline.
I also liked Holiday Hotline.
Is that right?
That's right. I think this was just another sort of missed opportunity, because they keep doing these where they keep like they're having so much of the work done for them by putting it in a nice place, and they could but yet the best movie this year still takes place in just the downtown financial
city.
district of some city.
Dumbo. Yeah.
It's like not
I'm
even Dumbo.
almost
Dumbo's
positive-
much more charming than that. It's literally the Five-Eye, and it's ugly
Yeah.
as hell, and I love it. That's such a good movie.
I'm
Santa
almost
Summit, by the way, in
positive,
case
though,
anyone
he
didn't
was-
pick up on that.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive that Thomas, whose name is Will
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
I think that he was in Belgium with her in one movie, or France. I remember thinking that you should be watching that with me, Paige. It was a few years ago. I'm looking it up. Not just
Paige
being
Kemp.
vague. Oh my god. Oh, good. He is in A Not So Royal Christmas this year, whenever that comes out. So that's good
Wait, a
news.
new movie? He's going to be in a new film?
Yes, a new film.
Let's not have Richie on that one.
Yeah. The Christmas Waltz was from 2020. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Love, Romance, and Chocolate. He was with her. That was from 2019. And Belgium. Yeah. So I got, Belgian chocolate. That makes sense. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking
that
of
was
Belgium,
really good. And then they really leaned into the chocolate making and stuff. It had a lot of sense and stuff. And I mean,
of
I don't know.
speaking of kelp.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want them to dig into the haggis much, but.
Oh yeah, how did that character be like, what is haggis? I was like, how do you not know the joke? Every 10-year-old knows haggis enough to know it's gross. Speaking of haggis, you can follow us on Instagram.
At Paige Kemp.
Got Paige Kemp, nameless, formerly known as Paige Harbison, Paige Kemp. Our Instagram is Nameless Best Friends. You can follow us there, and you can keep up to date with us. Jack has a new album coming out on Thanksgiving.
2 days
I don't know when this
from the recording.
Yeah, I don't know when
this.
we're recording this. I don't know when this episode's going to come out. Hopefully, we're going to get these ones out pretty quick. But I don't know because it's a lot of heavy workload going on right now with a lot to edit. So, but if it'll be out probably at least by the time you hear this. So look up Jack's music on Spotify. It's Thalo, Thalo, but that's also, you can find it on our Instagram. And that's pretty much all we got going on. Pretty much just stay tuned because we're about to have a big fucking weekend because Hallmark is giving us a big fucking weekend of 7 movies. Please tell all of your nameless family members, hey, look, they're going to be trying to talk to you about why you're not married yet, why you're having a kid, what's going on with work, how's work going? And you're going to be like, I don't want to talk about work. You know what? There's a great podcast you should listen to. Hey, I have some funny Instagram videos to show you. Hey, here's Farbo. She's funny. Watch that instead of talking to me. And then you can just distract them. Just show them that stuff. Just talk to them about us. That's fine. We'll take over. Happy to. Just tell them about us.
Blast some Thalo music, and if you need to, you can just retreat to a room and read a Beth Harbison book. That covers us
exactly
all.
Right.
There you go. Or do all of those things at the same time. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're like me, if you got one of those Gen Z brains, you might need to. Otherwise, the crushing eternal doubt and sadness of understanding the reality you exist in might be too much. So you're going to need to distract yourself. One screen for each eye, one different audio source for, one left AirPod has got you playing my music. The right one's this. You're set. You're golden.
Yeah, you're covered.
Yep.
All right. Well, cheers. We'll talk soon.
Happy
Love
Thanksgiving.
you. Good night. I love you.
Good one. Goodbye.